Here, the next one is profit on sale of fixed assets or investments. After adjustment of non-operating expenses and non-operating income, the coming figure will be treated as a operating profit before working capital changes. Then we have to do the adjustment of working capital. That is, add increase in current liabilities, decrease in current assets, and deduct decrease in current liabilities and increase in current assets. Then after, the coming figure is known as cash generated from operations. And less or add extraordinary items and tax paid amount. Then the final figure is known as net cash flow from operating activities by using indirect method. So a very simple way in indirect method for ascertain the cash flow from operating activities. First, you should take net profit before tax and extraordinary items. Then you adjust non-operating expenses and non-operating incomes which are already debited and credited in profit and loss account. Then adjust the working capital changes. After that, I have to add or deduct extraordinary items and tax amount. Then the final coming figure will be known as net cash flow from operating activities. So the next classification of cash flow from cash flow statement is cash flow from investment activities. So this is totally related to fixed assets and non-current investments. The, there are two types of assets in a balance sheet: current assets as well as the fixed assets. Current assets already adjusted in working capital. The current non-current assets, tangible or intangible, what it may be, and non-current investments are related to investment activities, which are sale and purchase of fixed assets or non-current investments. If any profit or loss arises by sale of fixed assets, that should be reflected in operating activity, but how much amount generated, that should be shown in investment activities. So that sale of fixed assets, sale of intangible assets, sale of non-current investments, or interest received, dividend received, all type of investment natures are taken in investment activities, purchase and sales. So coming to another activity of cash inflow is cash flow from financing activities. So which are related to non-current liabilities like shares, debentures, long-term borrowings. So issue of shares and long-term borrowings, raise the bank overdraft. These are the inflow of financing activities, and the amount shown and within the bracket that indicates outflow of the cash flows. That is repayment of any debt amount. Long-term borrowings are loans and uh, payment of a dividend or payment of interest on debentures, loans, redemption of preference shares, or buyback of share payment of buyback of shares. These are all cash outflow of financing activities. So, so far we have discussed the cash flows from operating activities, investment activities, financing activities. After find out the three activities, then add all these three items. The coming figure, whether it may be a positive or negative, what it may be, if it shows a positive, that is net increase in cash equivalent, or if that figure is showing a negative, that indicates decrease in cash and cash equivalents, then you have to add cash and cash equivalents in the beginning of the year. The outcoming figure will be treated as a cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year. So this is the procedure to find out the cash or cash equivalent at the end of the year amount. So far we have discussed the issues, the concept on cash flow statements. What is the meaning of cash flow statements? What is the meaning of cash flows? What are the meanings of cash? What are the cash inflows and cash outflows? Cash flow classification, that is operating cash flow from operating activities, cash flow from investment activities, cash flow from finance activities. So put together, we have to find out whether the firm having decreasing in cash and cash equivalent amount or increasing in cash and cash equivalent amounts. Then add opening balance of cash and cash equivalents. Then the final figure is known as cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year. So this is a total information, theoretical information to find out the cash flow from different type of activities. So the next lecture we will discuss it on various problems on cash flow statements.